Hey everyone, I have an amazing episode for you today. I got to interview Abbe and Isaac Feder, and I just want to tell you their story and the challenges they have faced really touched my heart. This is a couple who went through a very long infertility journey, and in the outcome are blessed with two children, but they are very honest about the experiences they went through and the challenges they faced as a couple. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about this couple. So, Abbe emerged on the other side of her own infertility battle, and she founded In Circle Fertility to hold the hearts and hands of those struggling to build their families. She bridges the gaps between the clinic, doctor, patient, and therapist experiences. She knew there was a niche here that needed more support than what was being given. Abbe has a background in behavioral science and is a certified life coach. And she's also hosted the podcast Women's Wellness with Abbe Feder. She is an avid mahjong and card player, an escape room enthusiast, girl, me too, and has been called by many friends a true balabusta. Abbe is married to filmmaker Isaac Feder, who I'll introduce in a second, and they are a true Hollywood cliche. They live in Los Angeles with their two miracle twins. Now, Isaac is a film director and television showrunner. His recent projects include series for Netflix, Sony Pictures Television, Disney Plus, Amazon, and Fuse. He's directed shows for Comedy Central, Viceland, True, YouTube Originals, and IFC, and has worked with some big names in the industry. His first feature film, the scripted comedy Sex Ed, won the Grand Jury Prize for Best Narrative Feature Film at the Portland Film Festival. His short film produced for ESPN's 30 for 30 series, AC Green Iron Virgin, was an official selection at the Tribeca Film Festival. As you can see, this is a well-accomplished couple, but as we all know, paper only shows so much. In this episode, they're going to really walk us through their journey, the challenges they faced, how it's impacted their work in positive and negative ways, and the values and goals they have now as a couple after going through years of an infertility journey. So grab a warm drink and let's dive in. Welcome to Relationship Reset, Reignite, Reconnect, Rebuild, the podcast for high-achieving couples who want to transform their relationship from surviving to thriving. I'm Katie Russler, a relationship coach and counselor with over 15 years of experience helping busy, overwhelmed couples rebuild connection, trust, and intimacy. If you've been together for years and feel stuck on autopilot, disconnected and frustrated by constant miscommunication, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll explore practical tools, relatable stories, and strategies to help you reignite the spark, rebuild your bond, and create the relationship you've always dreamed of. Because no matter how long you've been together, it's never too late to hit reset. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have Abbe and Isaac Feder, and we're going to be interviewing a real-life couple about real-life issues. So Abbe and Isaac, thank you so much for being here and being on the hot seat today. I'm excited to learn more about your relationship and the tools that you've been using over the last 17 years of being together that have helped you grow stronger, even through some of the most challenging things you've been through. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Katie.
Abbe and Isaac, let's just start with, how did the two of you meet?
Want to take it on?
Sure. Okay, yeah. Abbe and I met, we live in Los Angeles, and Abbe and I met at a gay bar in West Hollywood. The slightly longer version of that story is Abbe and I both went to the same Jewish summer camp growing up in high school. She was a grade ahead of me in camp, so I knew who she was. She did not know who I was, as that goes. So I really knew who she was. She did not know who I was. That was in high school. Fast forward 10 years later, a mutual friend of ours who was visiting from Washington, D.C., who was gay, wanted to go to the Abbe, which is this very famous gay bar in West Hollywood. It was like a Wednesday night. I work in film and television. Abbe's an actor. We didn't know each other yet, but I was working this job. It was a Wednesday. I'm like, Michael, I love you. I don't want to go out tonight. I'm tired. But we grew up together. I'm like, who did you invite to go? And he mentioned a few friends. And one of the people he mentioned was that he invited Abbe to come. And he said she was going to come. And I'd always wanted to meet her. So I'm like, you know what? I can get it together. I will see you there. And so I went to the Abbe. I met Abbe there. We became friends that night. We were friends for a few months, an insufferable summer, if you will. And then we got together after that.
Oh, I love this story. I love how it was like, you were kind of always watching her. And, years pass by. And then it's like a friend just happens to say she's coming. And you're like, I will be there now.
True story.
It's one of those things where timing is everything, because we could have crossed paths in several other circumstances. We have this big, anybody who grew up in the States might or might not know, like, Jewish summer camp is its own kind of cult thing. And so we have this large group of friends that we share, but we never met each other, but we have so many friends in common. We lived in New York City after college at the same time. I would go to parties of his friends. He was never there. We had another mutual friend
So
who came to
weird.
visit. Like, there's just so many times it could have happened. And, timing is everything. When we did meet, I had sowed my wild oats. I was like ready. He was such a nice quality man. And I was not ready for that earlier in my life. And so I don't think it would have worked out the same if I'd met him any other time.
Yeah, she dated a lot of bad guys before. No, it's oh man, what? Yeah, no,
You're
I
one
just
to
wanna
talk,
also say-
but
I just want to say we actually, Katie, we moved here the same month from New York to Austin. It's absolutely true that like there was like a New Year's party that I happened to be out of town for that I totally would have been for. I grew up in Chicago and she grew up in New York, and she has a lot of friends who live in Chicago, and I had friends who grew up with her. It's crazy. I am also pretty sure that had we met at an earlier time, we probably wouldn't be together, but I'm very thankful that we are.
yeah.
Well, Abby, what attracted you to Isaac? So it started as a friendship, but what made it like, yeah, this is more?
I want to hear this too.
Well, much to the benefit of Isaac, I was coming out of kind of relationship. It wasn't a long-term relationship that I was in when we met, but I had fallen hard for somebody who was so not right for me in every way. But the attention from Isaac was really nice. It was this man who, like, we had this shared history. We grew up at the same Jewish summer camp. So we know we have these values in common. We have personal jokes in common. It was like a shorthand immediately to this friendship. And at the time, I was doing more acting. I had been chosen randomly to be on one of the nominating committees for the awards in LA. And that meant I was invited to tons of premieres and screenings and all these things, not like an everyday actor gets. You just get this randomly every so often through the Screen Actors Guild. And here was this like film buff. He had just graduated film school. We would go hit these movies together, and we would, we were both smokers at the time. Sorry if our parents are listening to this, but they probably know. We would stay up late and drink wine and smoke cigarettes and have these conversations about film. And it felt just so right. And it was partly because we had this fast track of a shared background together. And then it just became very small things that he does as a human. Honestly, on our first official date, when he sort of bumped it up from friend to more than friend, he spilled pesto on his shirt within about 2 minutes of sitting down, and his credit card got declined. And I told this story, I think not at our wedding, but at my bridal shower. And the way he handled it, it's like this beautiful blend of like awkwardness and comedy. And it was just like, I could be in those moments with him and it felt okay. And I was like, that's somebody you can sort of picture a long term with.
Oh, I love that. So stability, along with the fact that he could just be authentic in the moment, that you're like, yeah, this is safe. This feels right.
Yes. Yes. And there's sharing a creative vision is really, I had dated people in showbiz, not in showbiz. This person I had dated before him thought all my actor friends were super weird, didn't understand the community I came from or caring about the arts. And so having that in contrast to Isaac, who really got it, was extremely good timing.
That's awesome. Isaac, what attracted you to Abby?
I mean, Abby's a knockout. She's a beautiful woman. So I knew that. Okay. And I also similarly knew that I was looking to date someone seriously who had come from a similar background to me, similar religious background, just an understanding of that. I mean, it's a big part of who I am in my culture. And I wanted someone who I felt could understand me with that regard. And like Abby was fun and it's fun and funny and sexy and all the things. I mean, for me, Katie, like it was pretty close to love at first sight for me. So I saw her. I'm like, oh my God, I want to date her. I want to get to know her better. And it all became very clear. I was also dating other people at this time, meeting women. And I was not in a serious thing at the time, but I was dating a lot. And like everybody else just fell off. when I met Abby, and it became very singular to me.
That's amazing. So are you saying it was at camp was love at first sight, or was it
No,
later on?
no, it was
As
yeah,
adults.
like yeah, as adults. I mean, at camp, it was like she's a hot older girl. I mean, like that was there. Now fast forward, and I don't know, I'm 28, 29. I've definitely dated some people seriously. Like I know more clearly, what I'm looking for, and Abby was all those things, plus creative, plus understanding of my career, which can be a little bit volatile.
Right.
So getting that, and I could be real, and believe me, I want to take care of my lady. I want to treat her to things. I want to like it wasn't that sort of thing, but like I'm a working artist. We were working artists. That requires a degree of flexibility.
Definitely. You guys got each other on a level, like you said, other people before weren't able to. And it probably felt like a breath of fresh air. Like, I don't have to explain this about myself or explain these people to you. You already get it. That's amazing.
For sure.
So we've got the beginning, which is all lovey and rose colored glasses, and then life happens, right? Walk me through kind of your relationship journey and what it's been like over the last 17 years or so.
Once we bumped it up from friend to more than friend, things moved pretty quickly. Because
Agree
I
with
think
that.
at that point, we're almost 30. We both know you don't get into something serious unless it's going to be the thing. 6 months after we moved in together, and like 6 months after we were engaged, and less than a year later, we were married. So from start to finish, friends to marriage was about 2 years.
There was something to say for that momentum for both of us. I remember at the beginning, Abby being like, I like you, but let's go at this certain pace. And I agreed to like kind of meet her there. Because I can be a little bit like 0 to 60, very, if I know that I want something or someone, we're going to move fast. She's like, go easy. Don't push, don't. And so I did. And then I remember I like went away to visit my brother for like a couple weeks. And when I came back, Abby picked me up from the airport and she's like, okay, so I want to move in with you and we're going to do this. And I did it right. Okay, great. So, but then we knew that if we were moving in together, that meant we were going to get engaged. That meant all these things. So sorry, Abby, I just wanted to add.
No, super helpful. I will also tell the funny story that the first time Isaac stayed over, he brought a suitcase like on wheels. It was like this endearing, charming.
So dorky.
Knew it was dorky. He knew it was awkward. And he was like, I'm just going to do it anyway. And like, that's what I loved about him.
I told her that I needed my contact lens solution, Katie. I needed my contact lens stuff. I have a lot of eye care,
Complex, definitely. Yeah.
My best friend at our wedding was like, get up with a suitcase, and he never moved out. And that's kind of true. Couples therapy before we even got married, which I think in a lot of ways was helpful. I don't know that it was like the helpful thing that we needed forever and ever. I think reflecting on 17 years, some of the same problems we had then, we have now. The problem the conflict remains the same. The way we handle it or the reason it's happening might change. It often boils down to the same thing. And I think, when you're with somebody for so long, there's a lot of, we do this. You always blah, blah. We're back at this again. We both, I think, could say that to each other, but nothing insurmountable. Before we got married, I think we both felt very confident going in, and till we started trying to have a baby is when the shit really hit the fan, I think. You agree,
Yeah, that was absolutely the most. I mean, we had different, whether it was work stuff or I remember being with Abby and I lost my job at one point. I mean, and I got another, but like we had different things to navigate, but like the main thing that we had to navigate was trying to have kids. Yeah, trying to get pregnant. That was the central conflict
everything.
and challenge, not only of our marriage, but really of my life.
And will you walk us through a little bit of what that journey was like then? Because those of you who don't know Abby yet and Isaac, because you both have some things out there really online to explain infertility and the challenges you face, but also to help others. Will you walk through a bit of that journey, what that was like for the two of you?
Can I start, Abby? Because you're so...
Yeah.
So we're married for almost 2 years at this point. We got married 31. We knew we wanted to have a family. That was one of the reasons we got married. We got invited to a wedding in Italy 2 summers after we got married. And like, this is going to be a great trip. We should start trying. And I was pretty convinced that like I remember it was like the end of our trip. We were in Rome. We got a great hotel. I'm like, we're going to get pregnant. This is going to be great. And like, I remember, like being there for those couple of days and we had a really great time. Like, This is our memory. Maybe we'll give our kid an Italian name or something. And I was so sure we're flying back like this is a done deal. We're good. That was so incredibly naive. Not that it would have been like so that I can tell you that when we finally decided to start trying, which took a little bit of negotiating, and then I was certain that as soon as we decided, okay, we're pulling the goalie, we're going to get pregnant, and this is that. So that's where we started. And I remember even our first time trying, I saw, oh, we're going to have a baby in March. That's my birthday. That'll be so great. And all that stuff just thrown out the window soon after. So now we're back in America. We're not pregnant. Abby, what did I miss?
Well, leading up to even the trip to Italy, yes, I talk about this a lot. So I will try not to go into every deep dive I could go into, but we talked about, we knew we wanted kids. We talked about, we knew we ideally wanted more than one. We talked about how lucky we were that when our friends were going through infertility, that was never going to happen to us because we're healthy and we do everything right and it's never going to be our story. We never talked about what happens if it doesn't work. What happens if we need treatment? How much treatment are we willing to do? How will we find the money, right? All these things none of us talk about when you're courting each other because who wants to talk about that? It was a blessing we were on the same page as far as all the other stuff. But then when it doesn't happen and you start realizing, right, this is where your past experiences in life have geared you up for how you're going to deal with this kind of heartbreak. And it's where you can find the most difference in a relationship. We dealt with things very differently. In the beginning, it was like our first negative pregnancy test. I remember Isaac said, I was immediately crying and he was like, okay, well, here goes our journey. And I was like, what do you mean our journey? It's going to happen next month. Being pessimistic, it was just didn't happen the way we thought it was going to happen. And so this went on and on and on and on and on. And we didn't seek medical help right away. Constant monthly heartbreak shared, but it was also this optimism and sort of denial that we would need any kind of help. So there would be months where we'd be like, okay, this is going to be the month. And if we get pregnant this month, we can't fly for that wedding. So let's not try this month because surely it would happen. And we'll skip it until the following or wait 2 months, right? Because we're with all the time in the world, our story, this is just a fluke. This isn't going to be our story.
We're like 33, 34 years old. It's not, yeah.
Basic testing done. Nothing was coming back as an issue. It started as a little heartbreaking, but it was like, this is just so weird. And next month we're going to get pregnant and laugh at these few months it took us, right? And this kept going over and over and over and over. And then we finally did see a specialist. Then it kind of freaked both of us out. And we waited almost a whole nother year to go back to him. That was after 2 years of trying.
Well, he just said, there's nothing I see here. You should keep, there was no cause for alarm. Keep having sex, keep, doing your thing. And we'll talk again because we were diagnosed eventually with unexplained infertility. So all of those were pointing the same way. That also made it, I'm thankful that it's unexplained because we were able to, and it made it so it was impossible to know what to do really, other than just try our best to stay positive, keep loving each other, just keep
blah, blah, blah.
rolling her eyes. But just stay married and you be kind to each other, treat each other well, take care of yourself,
Right. And we live in such a society that wants to point the finger. So the fact that it was unexplained didn't allow the finger to be pointed, but also kind of left you guys in this ambiguous, well, then what? Right? What are we're doing the act. Why isn't this? So I can imagine there's this anticipatory grief is what we'd call it now. But back then you just were holding your breath constantly, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that
started to get stressful.
Yeah.
It started to get stressful. The testing, the pregnancy testing, and frankly, even sex started to get stressful.
Yeah.
Because you can't, you're thinking about it.
Right. It's not for pleasure. It's for purpose. And
well,
okay, fair. It's not intended for pleasure, at least, especially from the, okay. It becomes something you need to cross off your list.
It's on the schedule.
Yeah. And that becomes a big stressor. And the, like you said, sort of the holding it all in, almost like a full-time job. And you're dealing with this every day together, but not necessarily outward in the world. So you're holding on to this secret at home that you may feel shame about, or frustration or sadness, or maybe relief for some people. We don't know what they're feeling, but outside in the world, it felt like you couldn't be your authentic self because you're working so hard to cover up this pain.
That's so true. I mean, first it was for a few months and then it became for a few years. It was a central thing that we were thinking about all the time and not sharing it, even with our parents who we're close with and my brother and sister-in-law who were close with, like it just, and our friends, like it was our thing. I mean, eventually people started to piece it together. You've been married for this many years. It doesn't take a genius to stop asking, do you guys want kids? But that was definitely something that was a stress in our relationship that like I could talk about work stress. I could talk about other things, but this was something that was private and being held in a little bit.
So did you guys find that you were able to connect beyond having, okay, we have to have sex and this is mechanical through this process of this is not happening for us? Or did it drive the two of you apart for a period of time?
It exploded. It was up and down. I think truly because I work with people in this space, I see it drive a lot of people apart. And so big picture, we were very lucky because it can also bring couples extremely close. And that's what it did for us. There were some moments post once we started treatment where again, you find the differences in your relationship. The stakes are raised. The money is going in now. It's still not working. So that level of trauma that you might have had experience with dealing with previously is now raised to a whole new level. Isaac was extremely comforting and equally shared in my grief every time it was a negative. And that was really helpful. He does have a let's keep a positive attitude, which sometimes would drive me insane. And from like a very let's stay positive kind of family. And it sounds horrible to say that that's not the right approach, but sometimes I just needed him to sit in the shit of it more with me and focus on being positive. But now it's easy for me to articulate that. At the time, it wasn't. And I felt very guilty for not being as positive as he needed me to be. And that made me feel like I couldn't be my full self because I had no ability to be positive in those dark moments and he needed it. So that drove us apart in some ways. I think that was where we would fight that's where some of the stem of the fighting would come from because I felt like I couldn't be myself.
I often find that couples will say that what attracted them to their partners is what drives them insane later on. And you mentioned the story about he was kind of silly and goofy and like positive about things. And then here you're saying like that drove me insane. I really needed him to just commiserate with me. And yet he was being his true authentic self. It's so normal, right? It's the like,
right.
I really loved this about you then, but why now?
Right,
why can't you change for me now?
Right.
Which
is why like some of the issues we had from the beginning, you have all the way through. I think it's also that through line. Sorry to cut you off.
Abby is better at connecting with and identifying at least like when she's unhappy, and I did come from a place where like, you got to think positive, you got to be positive. And it could get into a toxic place. And I recognize that too, but that was a part of it. And I would get upset and resentful at Abby when she wouldn't stay positive because at the same time, Katie, we're both working film and television and I had health insurance, but like with the DGA and things, like infertility was not covered all these years ago. And like, Abby and I are making some money at this point. Like we're doing okay. My career is advancing. And I also felt that like all of the money that we're finally making, which is potentially house money or vacation money or fun things money, it's all going one way. It's all not being met with results. And it's making her sad. It's making me sad. It was a hard thing. It was financially, it became something that was another element, not only just the emotional aspect of it, but like the financial priority became something that we would disagree with at times. And I would have to also keep my effing mouth shut about sometimes. That was really, 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 really hard.
Okay. So you guys have kids. So let's talk about what happened then.
Fast forward
the journey and then what occurred.
So this journey went on and on and on and on. We ultimately did get medical treatment and went through medical treatment for about 3 years. We suffered 1 miscarriage, 1 ectopic pregnancy, and then had to do a termination for medical reasons. The first miscarriage, I would say, was the lowest low of our relationship because, again, the stakes are raised. And again, we handled it extremely differently. There were different set of expectations. There was a different amount and level of grief. I was going through something physically. He was not and couldn't necessarily empathize. He didn't understand the hormone shift. I honestly remember exactly where we were for this one fight we had that felt like the pit of doom of our marriage. I don't think it's ever gotten that low. And it's only moved up from there and we made it through. But horrible experience colored the rest of our fertility journey, because I think Isaac did pivot from there in a positive way. Ultimately, after our 8th IVF transfer, we have twins. They're 6 now. And then there's it's like you worry about getting pregnant. Then you worry in pregnancy. And now we worry because they're in the world and there's 800 other things to worry about.
And I just want to say, so we have boy and girl twins, which from the jump, when people have seen us walking them with the strollers and carrying them and doing all the twin things, and it's pretty adorable, frankly, most people are like, oh my God, a boy and a girl twin. You guys are so lucky. You are so lucky. And I know it, and I say thank you. But I'm also often, I don't say this, I'm like, you don't know the half of it, how.
And sometimes I do say that. Yeah.
Right. But I do feel overall like, yes, our prayers were answered. We have 2 beautiful, healthy boy-girl twins, and they get along really nicely, and they're bright kids. And overall, it's been a blessing, other than just navigating parenthood and living in LA and working as artists and working and doing all this, like, just, not normal stuff, but like Abby and I both have a little bit less stable, consistently stable careers than many, or at least have in the past. And that's been something to navigate. Like Abby, we had the babies, and I was offered 3 months after the kids were born, I was offered a huge job opportunity to work on a movie. And I hit the road for 2 solid months. That was really hard. That was really hard to be away for. And amazing that my wife, who gets it, who is incredibly strong and resilient in all the things, and could also like handle it, because we don't have parents who live here. We don't have a lot of additional support. We do have some wonderful friends, and we do have some wonderful cousins, but it's not the same as like really having, that kind of help. And so like, it's a testament to Abby that she can do it. And it's a testament to I'm currently working where I'm away 2 nights a week, and our kids really handle it quite well, but it's hard.
Love that you pointed out that there's a level of gratitude that people will never understand, even though they're like, oh, you're lucky. There's just this deeply rooted thank you that it's there. It's consistently there for the 2 of you. And I'm wondering if the 2 of you still feel that towards each other in the process, or is there times where, it's kind of hard to see that with each other?
The gratitude for my children has been defining part of my parenting. I think it's really helped me. Because as someone, Katie, who also like, yes, I wanted children. More than anything, I wanted to marry Abby, for sure. And I wanted to be with Abby. I wanted her to be my partner. She wanted children. I wanted to have children with someone great. But I will be honest, it was not my first and only priority, at least at certain times. I even remember telling me, she's like, lots of people I know say this. I know you're going to be such a great dad. You're going to love it. And I thank her for saying that and thinking it's true. It is a huge part of who I am, and I do love it. But it was not my first and only priority. And I'm thankful that like Abby kept us on course, because I think I probably would have given up on it. And I also think that I get so much fulfillment out of it and meaning out of it that it is a guiding principle. And because we had such a hard time, I am thankful for them. I don't feel resentment towards my kids, or, oh, they're holding me back from trying this other thing or pursuing or going on this trip or whatever it might be. I know how meaningful it is to our life. And it's because Abby stayed the course. I would have, for sure. That's what I got to say. Ab?
Yeah, I don't think the shared trauma from having gone through that has gone away for us in a positive way. So with the way that it brought us closer, I think is still deeply impactful in our marriage, for sure. It doesn't mean that when my kid is throwing a tantrum, it's okay. I've been with them for so long. It doesn't bother me. Like, no, and parenting is freaking hard. We know this. And parenting post infertility and pregnancy loss is also freaking hard, because there's a lot of guilt. Like, this is what I wanted. I'm not allowed to, right? Again, back to the, like, what am I allowed to feel? How am I allowed to be my authentic self? But much like Isaac, I do think it gives me a greater level of patience than I might have had otherwise. And also, we're older. Like, it took us so long. We're older parents, and there's like pros and cons to that our relationship with our kids and our parents. So I do think we still remember it on a daily basis, that it took us a whole hell of a lot to get here.
We were almost 40 when we became parents. And like, I do yoga every day to keep up and stuff like that. And I do
just want to throw that in. Just want to make sure everyone knows I do yoga.
I can show you some, Katie, if you want. I can just,
oh my God.
No, I was just like, I'm just saying, like, we have to do things. And like, I don't think of us as older. We're kind of like young people anyway, so like, it's good. But like, when we went to preschool for the first time, like, oh my God, everyone is younger than us. And like, I just did not see that, because I haven't felt that way. very often as like the older people, but we are.
You would do
What are
great.
you going to ask, Katie?
You would be normal in Europe. Don't worry. You like come over here and it's just normal.
Great.
What do you think in all that time when you reflect back kept you in your marriage?
There is just, I know this is a very weird way to look at it, kind of backing out of it, but I didn't want to start over with someone else. I wasn't like thinking, it was like, this is a really shitty hand to be dealt, but I would like to play the hand with you. I don't know that I can articulate why anymore, but it was like, this is the choice we made to be together, and we will do the work to continue that choice. That's how
I mean, Abby's mom and dad, they got divorced when she was very young. I'm just adding that as I don't know if that was a part of it or not. I mean, but I also knew, like we're a good couple, Katie, and like we have fun together, and I like going places with Abby. She builds me up. I like going, like, I mean, there's so much good. It wasn't even I was totally fine. I even said we made this podcast about it. I'm like, Abby, if we stop having kids now, I still want to be married to you. And like, we can be that couple that like owns another house somewhere or goes on big trips, or like we can have another thing in our life. And like, I would be cool being that married couple who does that, So that's a part of it too.
You both were able to see that sometimes it's the unspoken that keeps us together, right? There's just a knowing that, okay, as you said, here's the cards that we've been dealt. I'd rather go through this with you. And sure, there are different options of what that could look like, but Abby was set and she knew, Isaac, what it was going to look like. And you were ready to stand beside her through that. I think that's beautiful. How have you guys used what you've gone through in life together to build kind of a new view of the future? Because you shared in the beginning, I had this ideal, here are the expectations, this is how it will look. And now life doesn't go that way. So what are you building now together?
I think the resilience is born in the pivot. So the fact that we could make it through that dark period, I think for me at least, was able to let me release a little bit of control that like, if the worst thing in the world happens to us, I know we'll get through it. And so I don't have to hold on as tightly as I might have thought I did, because I do think we can weather pretty much anything because we've been through it already, and life is tough. And there are challenges constantly between us and our kids in the world right now. But I don't ever think it's going to get as bad as it did. There's no set of circumstances that could make it as bad as it was. And so I don't be, it allows this pivot of like, we've been through it. We're resilient. We'll be through it again, whatever that looks like. And there's just like a team effort now. Like we are in this together. We have chosen to be in this together. We have committed to being in this together. Let's make it happen.
What would you say is one of your big dreams?
Oh God, we have so many.
We do have so many. I would say like Abby and I both want to provide for our kids. And that's big and small. I mean, what that means to me is like, I was lucky that growing up, like I was able to choose what university I went to and not have to take major loans to do it. You know what I mean? And like I did for graduate school, but like that was like an option to me. I never felt, we weren't rich as shit, but I never felt like limited financially by stuff. And I hope that we can provide a similar life for our kids. I don't think that's too much to ask. I mean, that does mean, we want to be able to travel with our family. We want to be able to own property. We want to be able to, well, I mean, Abby and I both are making a living doing things we love. And that's still really important to hold on to. And like that's come close. I mean, I don't know how much you know about movie business right now, Katie, but like there was a pandemic and then there was a writer's strike and really things have not come back. And it's been a lot to navigate. And luckily we are here and our bills are being handled. We are supporting our family, but it's not been the easiest for a few years. And like, that's still like such a critical goal. And I'm thankful that I'm married to someone who hasn't asked me to give up my dream, to give up how I make a living in order to support us. And we've been able to make it work thus far. But there doesn't mean there hasn't been moments where it's been really close. So like, those are some dreams and goals. Abby, what do you think of that?
I don't feel that homeownership is the be all end all of life, but I would really like to own a home. I would like to have a place that feels permanent or more permanent, or I have visions of what that home looks like. We can't buy a home right now. I mean, we also live in
LA.
The top 3, right, in LA, most expensive places to buy a home. And it is not the be all end all. It does not define our success, our life, but it'd be really nice to have a big old kitchen and have our friends standing in it and our friends' kids. And, I have those visions and those dreams for sure.
Okay, I just want to say, like, we do live on this, like, I know,
Yeah.
like, we do it, but it's not. I think
It's not
just wanna
ours.
say that, yeah.
Yeah, we rent. And honestly, it's been a godsend. It's big. And we couldn't afford to buy a house bigger than what we rent. So it's like, why move? Right.
Yeah.
I have dreams of taking big family vacations and being able to treat our parents to nice things because they've been able to help us out. So, I dream of things like making pasta in Italy at a cooking class. And, I think those are in some ways cliche, but they're very real for me. I think there's a lot to be had about traveling the world and the culture.
Sorry, Katie, you should know about us as Abby and I both. We consider ourselves to be very generous of spirit people. We love hosting. We like entertaining. I love, like, it's my birthday next weekend. I want to take all our friends out for like a big dinner and have lots of wine and have a big party. And like, we can't this weekend. Okay. Like we can't do it the way I want to. And that, even something like that, is a disappointment that I'm navigating. It's not forever. I know it's a goal that we both have. And like, yes, when Abby and I do have money, we love to spend it. We like to go out. We like to go out to night dinners. We like to stay at nice hotels. We're spa people. We love doing, we're fun. Like, and we love doing, and like, fun costs money for us. We're not people who like just want to go out and, like, not that there's anything wrong with camping. But I'm just saying, like, if we are going on vacation, it's like it's money. And we like to, so like, that costs money. And we have expensive.
Well, and that, it's priorities, right? A home, or really being able to live the life in the moment that you want to, as you can.
And that's a big, right. And we don't want to compromise on any of, that's the problem.
If you had to give our listeners one practical tool that has really supported your relationship and you could see it helping others, what would that be?
I'm going to go with the 6-second hug, which is something that from our therapist before marriage even. And I'm not great at it. Isaac's much better at it. But like, if you're in the heat of the moment and you're in this big fight, or you're just coming out of this big fight, whatever it might be, something chemically happens in your bodies if you hug for 6 seconds or more. We've implemented it. We try it and it freaking works. And it annoys me because he'll be like, 6-second hug. And I'm like, oh no, we do it. And it softens me and it really works. And sometimes I'll literally stand there with him hugging me and my arms straight, being like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because I can be stubborn that way, but it really does help. And it's a very, very simple tool. You have another one,
My grandmother, this is like a Bubba and myself, this don't go to bed angry, and that's a hard thing to always strive for, I think. But I do think it's really important for us to try to go to bed together. Like, even if we're pissed and even if it's not at the exact same minute, like, Abby and I went out, we had an argument. Okay. We had an argument at dinner last night. It was just the two of us. We went out. It sucks when we get a sitter and we go out and we have an argument. It does suck. It bums me out. But last night, I remember we're in bed and it's quiet. And, I hold her hand and she holds my hand back. And even just a little bit of human touch together is meaningful to me. I mean, that's similar to the 6. I'm glad you remembered the 6-second hug. I forgot that one. That's great. But I just wanted to say that, like, it's very natural. There can be periods of time in our marriage where we're not going to bed together. Like, I'm staying up late or watching something, or she's doing something. And I don't ever think that's the best for us. I think it is better if we can make an effort to have that time together.
I love that you both shared things that tell your brain this person is safe and this is my person. Because if we're going to physically hold hands, go to bed with, or hug someone to that level, we got to know everything's good. And it helps that arguing side of us that's like, no, I don't want to go. Oh, okay. They're still here. And this is a good thing. I don't have to fight this.
Yeah.
So to wrap us up, I just want to say thank you for sharing your journey and the experiences you've had. You guys are such a fun couple. Like, I want to come to the birthday party and like celebrate with you guys. I just think the energy
come to you.
Wonderful. And I think you're a real testament. You use the word resilience, Abby. Also of just being honest with ourselves and the journey we're on and the experiences we had and the importance of reflecting on what we've gone through so that we can better, cope with or build dreams for the future. And often we don't do that. We just go through it and we're like, here we are. There's something beautiful about your 2 children to remind you on a regular basis to enjoy the moment as well. And that, I think, is such a gift. Like, thank you that you have that gift, right? So
Yeah.
to wrap us up, if people want to connect with you and find out what you're doing, because you both have amazing work that you do, I'm going to let you start, Abby, share. And then Isaac, I want you to share, plug what's going on in your world.
Sure. So after coming through all of this, I now help other people struggling through infertility. You can find all of my stuff at incirclefertility.com. We can grab a time to talk. If you need some extra support, if you need resources to share, that's your spot. I love me some Instagram. You can find me also at InCircle Fertility or Abbe Feder. And if you really want to hear more about, if you're like a glutton for punishment and you're like, I just want to hear these two fight even more, we have our shared podcast called Immaculate Conception, which is available on Audible. And that is a documentary style series about our actual fertility journey.
Great. I'll make sure those links are below. And Isaac, what do you have going on?
And I definitely want to encourage people to follow Abby more than me. I'm not as great on social media. It's not my thing, but I am a director and filmmaker. And I just finished a new documentary that's going to be coming out on Amazon, most likely, as we're working that out in the next couple of months. It's a cannabis true crime story. It has nothing to do with our fertility journey. And I'm also making I love sports, and I'm making a baseball show on YouTube called Game of the Day Pod that's going to be coming out very soon. So yeah, we are telling stories together, separately, and supporting each other doing it.
That's amazing. Well, I celebrate both of you and your experiences
we love you.
You've had together. And I just hope that you'll continue to look each other in the eyes, do that 6-second hug, and remind each other what you're grateful for. Because wow, again, just that testament to what resilience looks like, and that it doesn't always feel good, right? But that's part of the whole process. So I appreciate you. All of the links will be below for people to connect with you. And again, wow, thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you. I love you, as you already know.
Thanks for having us, Katie.
Thanks for tuning in to Relationship Reset. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend who might need it too. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast. It helps more couples discover these tools to rebuild their connection too. And be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. It's gonna be a good one. Your relationship is worth the work, and the rewards, totally worth the effort. See you next week.